You know Daniel Dennett, the philosopher? He's a friend of Hofstadter's. You know, they published The Mind's Eye together. Yeah, that's him. He's a strange man. He works at Tufts University, somewhere around here. I spoke to him too, you know.
Several years ago, and as you know, I looked quite different then, I was approached by Pentagon officials who asked me to volunteer for a top secret and highly dangerous mission. In collaboration with NASA and Howard Hughes, the Department of Defense was spending billions trying to develop a supersonic tunneling underground device, or STUD for short.
We were trying to develop a sort of rocket to tunnel through the Earth's core at high speed and to deliver a specially designed atomic warhead right up the Reds' missile silos. It never passed the experimental stages. In an early trial, the warhead got stuck about a mile deep under Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's why we approached Professor Dennett to retrieve the warhead. We knew about his interest in brain research, and we knew about his personal bravery. Both of these were essential in this case. But maybe Dr. Minsky should explain that.
Well, the problem was that the device was fiercely radioactive, but in a new way. Monitoring systems had shown us that the nature of the device and the interaction with pockets of material deep in the Earth produced a radioactivity that caused severe abnormalities in the brain tissue. It was quite harmless to other organs and tissues of the body. So, we decided to ask the person who was to retrieve the warhead to leave his brain behind. We constructed a new sort of life support system. That way the brain could go on exercising its normal functions by elaborate radio links. In other words, we asked Dennett permission to remove his brain to store in a vat at the Manned Spacecraft Center in Houston, Texas. Now, each input pathway and output pathway, as it was severed, was restored by a pair of micro-miniaturized radio transceivers, one of which was attached precisely to the brain in Houston, and the other to the nerve stumps in the empty cranium. So no information would be lost, and all connectivity would be preserved. Yeah, Dennett was a bit reluctant at first, but yeah, well, we managed to convince him.
They showed me around the life support lab in Houston. They'd made a sparkling new vat for my brain, and I was introduced to the distinguished support team of neurologists, hematologists, bioengineers, electrical engineers, biophysicists. They put me through an enormous array of tests, blood tests, brain scans, experiments, interviews, and the like. They took down my biography at great length, recorded tedious lists of my beliefs, hopes, fears, tastes. They even made lists of my favorite stereo recordings and put me through a crash course in psychoanalysis. Of the operation itself, I don't remember anything because I was anesthetized. But when I opened my eyes and looked around, I asked the traditional, inevitable, lamentably hackneyed post-operative question: where am I?
Where am I?
You're in Houston.
I gather the operation was a success.
I want to go see my brain.
that mine?
On the side of the vat is the output transmission switch. See for yourself. Susan.
Well, here I am, sitting in a chair, staring through a piece of plate glass at my own brain. But wait, shouldn't I have thought, here I am suspended in a bubbling fluid being stared at by my own eyes? Here am I, Daniel Dennett, suspended in a bubbling fluid being stared at by my own eyes. Here am I, Daniel Dennett, suspended in a bubbling fluid, being stared at by my own eyes. Here am I, Daniel Dennett, suspended in a bubbling fluid, being stared at by my own eyes.
It was very confusing for him. You know, he's a philosopher of strong physicalist conviction. So he really believed that thoughts occur somewhere in your brain. He just couldn't think himself in the vat. So, to orient himself, he used the philosopher's ploy. He began naming things.
Yorick, you are my brain. The rest of my body I dub Hamlet. So, here we all are. Yorick is my brain, Hamlet is my body, and I am Dennett. Now, where am I?
There were three possibilities. First, where Hamlet goes, goes Dennett.
Well, that's unlikely. If you and I switch brains, it would still be me in your body. My brain would still remember my life.
Well, exactly. But where Yorick goes Dennett wasn't very attractive either. He just didn't feel like he was in the vat. So, he thought up another argument. What if his body would rob a bank in California?
Where would he be tried?
The third possibility is that the man is wherever he thinks he is. Point of view, in other words. But that's an unclear notion. You can be mistaken. Anyway, this sort of example gave Dennett the idea that he could teach himself to be in the vat, if only he practiced.
Hey, let's test your new nervous system before we send you out on this dangerous mission.
My accommodation is not perfect, however, and to this day I'm plagued by minor coordination difficulties. The speed of light is fast, but finite, and as my body and my brain get farther apart, the delicate interaction of my feedback systems is thrown into disarray by the time lags.
It's not noticeable.
But in any case, to get back to my adventure, soon the doctors and I were in agreement that I was ready to undertake my subterranean mission.
Great. Let's go, huh?
Hello, Houston. Come in, Houston.
This is Houston. Where are you now?
I've reached the missile. I'm sure glad I left my brain behind. There's so much radiation the Geiger counter exploded. So what do I do now?
Okay, find the cover to the guidance system. It's marked TS545-7.
I already found it. Board here that's broken.
Describe it.
It says G21652.
Okay, see the switch? Switch it off.
It's jammed.
Damn. You'll have to cross patch the detonator. You see the wires? There's a red one and a blue one. Cut the red one. And don't touch that circuit board behind it. The decision chip is on it. You'll blow up a large part of Oklahoma if you short-circuit the board.
I wish you'd had your own decision chips checked before you launched this thing. Oh, well. Here we go.
Apparently, the auditory transceivers had gone on the fritz. I could no longer hear Houston or my own voice, but I could speak. So I began telling them what had happened. In mid-sentence, I knew something else had gone wrong. My vocal apparatus had become paralyzed. And then my right hand went limp. Another transceiver gone. I cursed my luck, because there I was, deaf, dumb, and blind in a radioactive hole more than a mile deep under Tulsa. And then I was faced with an even more shocking problem. For as the last radio link died out, suddenly I was disembodied in Houston. I didn't recognize my new status immediately, of course. It took me several anxious minutes before it dawned on me that my poor body lay several hundred miles away, with heart pulsing and lungs respirating, but otherwise as dead as the body of any heart transplant donor. Its skull packed with useless, broken electronic gear. The shift in perspective that I had earlier found well nigh impossible was now quite natural. In fact, though I could think myself back into that body in Tulsa, it took some effort to sustain the illusion. And surely it was an illusion, for I'd lost all contact with that body. It occurred to me then, in one of those rushes of revelation we should always be suspicious of, that I'd stumbled upon an impressive demonstration of the immateriality of the soul, based on sound physical principles. Look, as the last radio links between Tulsa and Houston died away, I'd changed location at the speed of light, without any increase in mass.
And you couldn't tell anybody about your discovery.
Exactly. I was racking my brain, one of the few familiar things I could still do, trying to figure out how to communicate my discovery to the journals. At the same time, I was filled with dread and uncertainty. Fortunately, that didn't last long, for the support team soon sedated me into a dreamless sleep. I woke up hearing my favorite Brahms piano trio. So that's why they wanted a list of all my favorite recordings. The output from the stereo stylus was being fed through some fancy rectification circuit directly into my auditory nerve. I was mainlining Brahms.
Hi, Dan. It's me, Marvin. I guess you understood what happened. The transceivers in your skull got broken by the radiation. We are trying to find a new body for you. Sorry about this. Yeah, don't worry. You'll be right.
I slept for almost a year. When I woke up, I found myself fully restored to my senses.
Well, Dan, how do you like it?
So, this is my new body. I accommodated to my new body very quickly. The view in the mirror soon became utterly familiar. Let's go see good old Yorick. What's going on? Why didn't I faint?
Sit down, will you? Look, yeah, maybe I should have told you this before. Anyway, before we even operated on you for the first time, we made a complete computer duplicate of your brain. We reproduced the complete information processing structure and the computational speed of your brain on a giant computer program. We ran this program side by side with Yorick. All the incoming signals from Hamlet were sent simultaneously to Yorick's transceivers and also to the computer's array of inputs. The outputs from Yorick were not only beamed back to your body, they were also recorded and checked against the simultaneous output of the computer program. Or we call that Hubert, by the way.
Hubert?
For days, even for weeks, the outputs were identical and synchronous. Now, this does not prove that we made a complete copy of the brain's functional structure, but, well, the empirical support was pretty encouraging. During the days you were disembodied, we kept Hubert's activity parallel with Yorick's. And now, for the first time, we have thrown the master switch and put Hubert in complete online control of your body. Your new body, that is.
Fortinbras.
Come again?
Fortinbras. I've decided to call my new body Fortinbras. By the way, what happened to Hamlet?
Yeah. He's still down the stud, I guess. Hey, come on. Show you something. B is for brain, H is for Hubert. You can switch whenever you want.
So I can switch in the middle of a sentence, right?
Right. You've got a spare brain. A prosthetic device. Could come in handy if anything happens to Yorick. Or you could use Yorick as a spare and function on Hubert. It doesn't make any difference. The wear and tear of your body has no debilitating effect on either brain. The one that's controlling your body or the one that wastes its output on the desert air.
We decided that all of the electronic connections in the lab had to be carefully locked. And as for those that controlled the life support system for Yorick and the power supply for Hubert, those we protected with elaborate fail-safe devices. And the master control switch, I decided to take charge of myself. I wear it strapped to my waist. I reconnoiter the situation every few months by changing channels. I only do this in the presence of friends, of course, because if the other channel were, heaven forbid, dead or otherwise occupied, there'd have to be somebody there who took my interest to heart to switch it back, to bring me back from the void. You see, after such a switch, even though I could see and hear and feel and sense whatever was going on in my body, I wouldn't be able to control it. But in any case, every time I've tried it so far, nothing's happened. Here, I'll show you. Thank God. I thought you'd never turn that key. You can't imagine how terrible it's been these last few weeks. But now you know. It's your turn in purgatory. How I've longed for this moment. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to explain it to my brother, I guess you could say. He just gave you all the facts, so I guess you'll understand. About 2 weeks ago, the two brains drifted just a little bit out of sync. Now, I don't know whether my brain is Hubert or Yorick any more than you do. Well, the two brains drifted apart, and once the process started, it snowballed. The differences magnified, and in no time at all, the illusion that I was in control of my body completely dissipated. Our body. There was nothing I could do. There was no way I could call you. He didn't even know I existed. It's been like being carried around in a cage. No, like being possessed. Well, now it's his turn. But at least he'll have the comfort of knowing that I know he's in there. Don't worry. I'll try to make it easy on you. Just as soon as this interview is over, we'll fly to Houston and see what we can do to get you another body. In any case, I'll take care of you. I promise. These people are my witnesses. Ladies and gentlemen, this interview we have just heard is not exactly the interview that I would have given. But I can assure you that everything he said was perfectly true. But now, if you'll excuse me, I think that I'd read better stop.
And what happened to him?
He published another book. Well, one of them did. It's about free will.
And does it exist?
If it didn't, would I be here? That's what it's all about, right? That abstraction can come forth out of matter. Dennett is rather optimistic about free will.